Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our presentation, our webinar on the contractor dashboard for the AC Quality Care program. My name is Joe Giarusso, and I'm the Senior Program Manager at Build It Green, managing the PG&E contracts. And as I mentioned, this is going to be our webinar on the new portal dashboard, contractor dashboard for AC Quality Care program. I have everyone on mute, so just to keep the background noise at a minimum, but during the call I will stop every so often and offer a chance to ask questions. If anyone does have a question, instead of unmuting all the lines, what I ask is that you use the raise your hand feature in the GoToMeeting, and then I'll go down and invite you to ask your question when I call your name out. Okay? So, good. Okay, so welcome everyone. So we're going to go through, and the plan is today is the main focus will be is on the portal, the new contractor portal page. The second part, though, I am going to go do a walkthrough of SA Portal, and for those that are fully familiar and do not need that after we're done with the demo of the dashboard, you're welcome to drop off, or you can stay on. So that will be the plan for today. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So many of you may have already seen or run into the new contractor dashboard. It's using the same system that you would have used to upload applications into our system. And what would have looked different is that instead of a list of applications, you would have already have seen this dashboard come on up. So there's not a new login or a new URL. It's the same one that you've been using. So I'm going to go ahead and log myself in here into my demo account. Okay, and so voila, welcome. So this is what, if you're not familiar with, this is what you will see starting the next time you log in to the AC Quality Care Rebate Contractor portal. So basically we've broken this out now into a few sections with this page, and I'm going to walk through kind of each of these sections at a high level. I will review the application page, which is where many of you are somewhat familiar with, as well as changes to the application submission page. And then during each of those sections I will stop and ask for any comments or questions, and then at the end I will switch over to the SA portal. So when you log in here, you now will have these three buttons at the top. Dashboard will be the default. That is what you will immediately default to when you log in. There will be the application button, which will bring you your list of applications in the system, which is many of you are familiar with, and then a help, which is a very simple help tool to guide you around. For those of you that are in also the home upgrade program, up here there is a link to switch between that. So we are still working to finalize the home upgrade dashboard. It is live and available, but we are still enhancing that, so that is not the final completed product. But it's nice in that if you're in both programs, you can easily switch. There's no requirement to log out of one, log into the other. You'll be able to jump back and forth between the two programs. Also, you can log out. Up here it would put your name up where it says Big Demo. It would have the name of the individual logged in, and then obviously you can log out as well from there. Okay, now into the meat of the dashboard itself. So this first section here called your AC Quality Care Dashboard is kind of your application and rebate status section. So at the very top we have this gray bar, and this is actually kind of your cumulative reporting. So this is the total applications that your company have submitted since the program has been with Build It Green to PG&E. So, actual final applications submitted into PG&E for payment. And then over here are the total rebates paid, and that's the cumulative of all measures paid out, and with you as the contractor performing the work. So you'll get kind of just a good sense of how you're performing in the program over the life since it's been with Build It Green. Then down here, what I think contractors will find very helpful, or I should say back office staff that are processing these, we have a donut graph that basically breaks out kind of your percentage of applications in the queue and where are they sitting in the queue. And so they obviously are color-coded with the key over to the right here. And so I'm just going to give you a quick summary of what these mean so you have a clear understanding. So obviously application created, that's an application that the back office may have started but have not submitted yet for review to Build It Green. So maybe you started an application, you didn't have all the information, you had to save it. So they're basically unsubmitted applications. The next one in here, submitted, as the term indicates, are your applications that you've submitted to Build It Green for review and final processing to PG&E. Application under review, those are ones that are currently being reviewed by our desktop team. And then this section which is action required, those are applications that are being sent back because they need additional information. So somewhere in the desktop review, it was determined that something was not correct. Either the correct form wasn't uploaded with it, maybe a date doesn't line up, or there's something else that the automated system wouldn't catch, but through a desktop review, we do notice, and then we flag that as corrective action required, and so that would be the indicate for you that that's an application that's out there to be worked on. Application resubmitted, obviously once you correct the action, you resubmit it. That would then show the ones that are resubmitted but waiting for processing. And then application approved, that means it's been approved by us and thus submitted to PG&E for processing and their own CIP process and then eventual payment. So even though it says approved, it doesn't mean that PG&E is approved. It just means that it's been approved and submitted now to PG&E to go through its process. And then last, which is probably the most important to the contractors, is rebate issued. So that means that PG&E, we have verification that PG&E has cut a check for that particular rebate application. So this is, it's a working list, so obviously this number is real time. Every time you log in, it could change, and it moves as the application moves along. These numbers do change. So obviously, if you submit an application, if you had a created application here and then you submitted it, you would see that go to 0 and this increase by 1 and so forth and so on. Rebate issued, I do need to check. I could not tell you right now whether that's going to be a cumulative number. I don't believe so. I believe it's going to be some type of a truncated, like, after a week or something, that number would drop down. So that way it doesn't become too large of a number. Also, in the next revision of this dashboard, you will be able to click on the different sections of this donut graph and pull up those applications that are referred to. So if you wanted to see that one application that required contractor action, if you clicked on that section of the donut graph, it would bring up that application or those applications that needed contractor action to reprocess. Right now that's not available, but it will be shortly, and we will send out a message once that is done. And then down here is just a quick snapshot. The first two are basically looking at the last 6 months of data. So these are, the first one is rebate paid monthly. So these would reference how many dollars were actually cut in checks for work that was done by a contractor. So, if you did 20 jobs and you had $5,000 in rebates, it would show 5,000 for the month of January as long as those were actual checks cut. So again, it's not what was submitted, it's what was actually cut, checks that were actually paid by PG&E. Units submitted monthly, again, that's going to show us what units you submitted in as an application into the system. And again, to remember, because we're saying units here, it doesn't necessarily correlate one-to-one with a property, since some properties can have 2 or even 3 units associated with it. So it's really just how many units were touched in that month. And then finally, we have total rebate issued by measure. So you can get a sense of how you're doing as a company cumulatively in each of these measure areas. And this will grow or spread out. So obviously, if you'll see I think the kickers as well listed in there as those, as you submit for those as well. So it'll just give you a cumulative, and it'll keep growing to show you, which ones are you really excelling at. Okay. Before I open up to questions, let me go down to the next section here. And so the next 4 quadrants are what we're kind of calling both kind of informational for the contractors as well as kind of reference. So we think this will be really helpful for contractors. As you know, we do send out a monthly newsletter, but for a variety of reasons, that may not be read. Maybe we're sending it to the owner, and maybe the owner isn't really the best person to receive that. It should be the back office, So there's a number of reasons that maybe you're not reading or getting the information out of the newsletter. Also, there are things that come up that are more real-time than on a monthly basis. So this section here, the program announcements, this will be almost like a real-time news feed. So as information comes in, we can go ahead and post in here the information. So not only would like newsletter items be in here, but maybe if we had a reminder to be sure to have customers sign both the signature line and the signature line for signing rebate if submitting applications. If we wanted to highlight something, we could put it in there, and it would be just basically like we have over on the future events and training section. It would be a bold title, maybe a line or two of just high-level information, and then a link below to read the full information about that announcement. So that will be real-time, and we'll populate as we update it. The same holds true with future training and events, another good, I think, key piece for contractors. So we're going to put in here, and it will be in the order, by the way, of most recent, not the other way. But what you will see is trainings or other events such as the webinars or the boot camps that are coming up that are of interest to ACQC contractors. So you'll be able to see now, here are all the tech trainings that are coming up that we have scheduled. Here is the boot camp. So you can kind of get a sense and make your plans, know where you have maybe new techs that need to get trained, and make your plans and then contact us. Or if it's a registration, you can click there to go and register for that course or webinar. And if there are more than 3 on either of these, you'll see this kind of view all. And if you click on the view all, it will take you to the full list of everything that's been posted in there thus far. So that's, again, very useful there. And then the last 2 sections below, the quick reference is really meant to be just quick links to get you to items that we have heard from contractors, either they've requested a lot from us or that we believe that you would find of use. And these are just quick links, whether it's like a copy of the handbook, the list of blower motors that are approved in the program, copy of the application, or even the SA portal login, which is what we're going to talk about later. We have these links in here, and this list is growing. So for example, in the webinar we had earlier today, one contractor said, oh, it'd be great if we could get that QM agreement, QM service agreement in there, because we always forget and we can't find a copy. So we're going to be adding that. And again, in the view all, it would take you to the page to see as this list grows, it would be you'd see all those either links or documents in that on that quick reference page. Shortly I'll review this. I want to review this update service territory, kind of another neat feature that we've updated, but I'll review that in a couple of minutes. And then the last section is this upcoming field QC inspections. So what we've also decided to do is tie our field QC process in with this dashboard. So now what will happen is when our field tech schedules with a customer a QC visit and logs it into the system, you will see that information now in this section so that you know what field QC visits are coming up, and you can use it as an opportunity to maybe help retrain a technician or go out there and kind of understand the process. It's not meant to be, the go out and try to fix something ahead of time, because we do ask our field QC techs do ask the customer if the contractor's been out since they made the call to schedule. But it's really meant for you to work with the QC tech to go out and meet and kind of walk through, understand, learn from any things that the QC tech points out, whether it's something that could fail, or even just, hey, if you noticed you didn't, I noticed this could have been done a little differently or whatnot, or, your technician kind of left a mess over in the corner. It's an opportunity for you to use it as a learning experience. So again, we think that this is going to be a very good tool for contractors. One point of clarification, however, is this is only for the QC visits that we schedule at Build It Green. It does not include and will not include any of the CIP visits that PG&E schedules on their own. So those are not going to be included in this going forward. Okay, so I've kind of gone through quickly the dashboard front page, so I'm going to go ahead and just, if there are any questions before we move on, all you have to do is there's the raise hand feature. If you want to raise your hand, and then I will unmute your line and answer any questions that you have. Okay. Good. Okay. Good. So I guess I went through that and did a fairly good job of explaining it. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I want to highlight or talk about, I mentioned a little while ago, this updated service territory. So as many of you may know, on the AC Quality Care Rebate website, customers can go in and type in their zip code and then find contractors that have indicated that they service that zip code for this program. And for those that just sign up the first time, it's usually this paper form you got to fill out and turn back in. And then I know that we've had contractors contact us saying, oh, you know what, we don't know what we put in there. It's been a few months, or oh, we've expanded. How do we update that? So what we've done is we've created this tool now that allows you as the contractor to go in, and you can now select and edit your own territories that you service. One caveat, if you read up here under the note, we still do have to do a manual load over to the website, so it's not an instantaneous, but we will update anything that comes in every Friday. So by Saturday morning, you should see your revised list. But this is actually pretty nice and slick feature. So if you were, let's say, a contractor in a certain area, we first have broken this out kind of by regions within the state of California that cover PG&E territory. So if, for example, you go in and you're like a contractor that services the greater Sacramento area, or even crosses over between the greater Sacramento and maybe northern Sacramento Valley, you can go in here and then select, so you know that you are El Dorado, Placer, and we'll say Sacramento. And what you'll do is it will then expand that list of all zip codes and their corresponding cities associated with that zip codes. And by default, it will check it for the whole area. So if you were just to go and select those, you would basically be listing all these zip codes and all these cities in those metropolitan or in those areas for inclusion in your service territory. However, if you want to further kind of narrow that down, so maybe you don't go all the way up to South Lake Tahoe, you can unselect and then go through and select, those areas that you do, but then skip over maybe those that you don't cover that are too far up. And you can do that for each section. And then, and then you can close it down so this list doesn't get too long. You can just minimize it each time. Once you're done, then you can go ahead and hit save, and then that will send it to us, and then we pass that on to the hosting service to upload that. The only part right now that's not set up is if you go in and you already have a list in our website, you're not going to see that list when you go in here. So unfortunately, if you wanted to change, you're not going to be able to see, oh, did I select that already or not? You're going to have to create the list again, for the first time. And a future revision again will be is that once you do this the first time through this system, is it will remember it and you'll be able to just add and delete from your existing list, but that again will be a future enhancement. Right now, if you went in to change it, each time you would have to create your list again. So, but this does make it easier, and it does help, I think, for you as the contractor to see the cities, see the zip codes, and create your service territory that you would like to have displayed or searched when a customer enters in a zip code in the AC Quality Care Rebate website. Okay. Any questions around the service territory list? Again, just click on raise hand and we can open that up. Okay, good. Okay, and then let's go over quickly to the application section. So this is kind of the page that probably many of you were familiar with prior to the switchover with the new dashboard. When you logged in, you would basically see the list of all your applications in the system. So a couple of things. Most importantly, obviously, if you have a large number of sites, it becomes very hard to search, to just kind of scroll through and find them. So this show filters and hide filters, the show filters button is really a great tool, because with this, you can kind of search for a variety of information. If you know the app, you can search the app. And the nice thing is, it is kind of a real-time search. So as you start entering in a number, it starts filtering it down. Same holds true with the address. So if you start typing in a number, it will start, filtering that list down until you get to a, a specific list or a short list of applications. And it can work for all certain lookup. So whether you type in part of the street name, the street number, the city, it will real-time narrow that listing down. And then the last two over here, and these are also somewhat important, because submitted by, if you have a number of people submitting applications in the back office, you could then search if you want to see all that were submitted by a particular user in the back office. You can sort by that, or this status one, which again is probably very useful for the back office team. So as I mentioned on the dashboard, if you had an item that came back as contractor action required, you could then click on that and it will just pull up those that have the status of action required, and then you can go in and make the corrections needed. Now in this case, let me also show you kind of a nifty thing. Instead of having to figure out what it is that you need to do to make this application submittable, we've added some features to this. So if I was the contractor, I got this this application that's got an issue, let me click on it, open it up. What we've done now is we've created it where we've put kind of a red box. Don't mean to like scream at people, but we wanted to make it very clear that there was some action that had to happen here. And although this is a demo site, so you're not seeing this, but if you notice, it says the following feedback for your action, : and what you would see down below would be a bulleted list of one or more actions that need to be taken to make this application able to be processed. So if you were missing a document, it would say missing customer application, or application does not have signature. So you would see exactly what it is that is missing, so that you could, so you'll know. There's none of this guessing, or and we don't need to type an email with information about it. It should be pretty clear and straightforward, so that will be helpful as well. Okay, so I'm back to my list here again. Show filters, and again, you can sort. So rebate issued, you'll be able to go in and see, okay, these are the jobs that have been paid by PG&E, and checks have been cut by the system. So that's kind of your ability to view and search applications that have been submitted or at any stage in the submission process. Now, if I'm going to go, or actually, let me again pause just for a second. Any questions on that particular aspect? Okay, one second. Okay, Mariah or Kevin?
Yeah, Mariah. Hi there.
Hello.
So how do we obtain an additional login for back office staff?
You could reach out to our staff here. So you could either send an email or give a call, and then we can make sure that you have access.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Good. Okay, so I'm going to go now into just to kind of review the application, creating an application, because there's been a few changes to that as well. So in order to create the application, you just click on the button, and it'll pull up your rebate application. First thing and foremost, the first thing you want to do when you come into this page is to find the SA Mobile data that you want to match. And that's because it will pre-populate a lot of this information, so you don't have to go back and do that. So if I was the contractor coming in, pulled up to add an application, I go in, I find a customer, I hit match it, and then as you can see, what it's done is it's pulled information across for that application. And then the rest of the information is what I need to fill out. So I need to select my technician. So what I do is I pull down the menu, and I would see any technician that was approved to work under the program associated with your company. So if you don't see a technician, it means either A, they're not approved, B, we don't have them listed as approved. If you think there's a discrepancy, again, please call our office, and we can check into that. But again, these are those that are listed as eligible to work in the program. So you select the technician. We also are hoping that to get customer email address, because PG&E uses that for customer survey. So on the application, I believe there's a line. So again, if you can kind of encourage your technicians, or when you're talking to the customer, see if you can get an email address to provide, that would be great. The electric ID number, SAID number, this is important, and this is a must. And so as a contractor, you need to get this number from your customer. Now, customer can get it from two places. They can either get it from their electric bill. It's on there, the electric, the SAID for their electric account, or they can log on to the pgne.com website and go into their My Account, and they can find it on their My Account page as well. It will list out the SAID number. That is critical to get that in there. And again, it must be electric, it cannot be gas, okay? And then the important one here is you select who's going to get the rebate, the customer or the contractor. If it's the contractor, again, make sure that the customer has signed the part of the application that transfers the rebate to the contractor. If it's not signed, the customer is going to get that rebate. PG&E will, even though it may be checked, PG&E will not pay that rebate to the contractor if the customer's signature is not on that part of the form. And just another word of note as well is make sure that the customer puts the date next to their signature on the application side of the form. There's a section for signature and a section for the date. Again, we will not be we will send it back for contractor action if the customer signed it, but they did not date the application. So that's a couple of caveats important to pass on there. So once you've entered that information, you're going to go back through and then you're going to select your measures installed. And again, you're just going to select those measures that you have done. You're not going to select any future, if you went out and you did the assessment and the customer said, oh, in 3 weeks come out and do the blower motor, you're not going to go ahead and select blower motor at that time. You're going to just do the one. Also, something that's newly added here, if you select these, you now need to put in the date that it was performed. So this one's actually going to be changed, I believe, to say assessment date, but you would put the assessment date in the form. And if you went out a week later and did the blower motor, you're going to put the blower motor date in the field here. So these are critical, and they're now required to be added in there. Okay. So once you select that, and then you have down below your upload program documents, there are two that are always required: customer rebate application form, again signed and dated. And then the cost estimate / invoice. Those are the two that are always required with the application. And again, if you click Choose File, it just does the simple, the window, browser window opens up, asks you to find the file, you select it, you upload it, and it will accept a broad range: JPEG, a GIF, PDF, I think even Word document. It will accept various formats. And you can scan these. So these are not, we don't need the original. They do not need to be in color. You can scan it with your iPhone app. You can scan it on a scanner. You can take a photo of it. It just has to be clear, legible scan or file that you upload. If you do the QM agreement, again, you got to get that QM, that one page, the signature page of the QM agreement uploaded. You don't need to upload the whole thing. So just the signature page. And then we've also added this section now for these supplemental documents and photos. So we've done this because there are times where I know contractors have said, you know what, we think that this could create an issue, or we think this could be seen as possible failure, but we want to document it. So, for example, I had one contractor ask about refrigeration service because the coil was fairly corroded from dog urine, and so they took photos of it and included it. So you can take photos and upload it. That way there's just that documentation that can be added. And if you have any notes that you want the reviewers to see, you can just type in notes down below here, and that is only for the reviewers. It doesn't go on to PG&E as part of the application. And then the other nice thing is you can save this partway through. So that's where you get that application in process, or the application, the first one in the application status, because it's not ready to submit, so it just sits there. So you can now save it and then come back to it after. If it's all good and ready to go, then you click Submit, and it will create that new application in the system that would show up in here when you went back to view your applications. So, okay, so I'm going to again stop for a minute and open it up. Again, if you want to press the raise your hand, I will open your phone line up for to ask your question or make your comment. Good. Okay. So I guess we've done a pretty good job of explaining the dashboard. So I really, kind of coming to the end of the section here around the dashboard. Again, we did go out and as we were developing this, we did check with, did do kind of a check with some contractors. We found some good reviews with it. We hope that you find this very useful and helpful. We're always open to feedback and suggestions. So, after you use it for a while, if there's something that you would be helpful or a way to view it, or especially under the things like the quick links, if there are other links that you would find useful to have there, please, by all means, let our team know. You can also email your account manager and pass it along. But we are looking to make sure that this remains a very useful tool in your work in the program. Okay. Okay, great. So any other questions? Because then I'll switch over to the SA portal. So any last minute questions before we jump over to SA portal? Okay. Good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now, and if you are familiar with the SA portal and feel like there's not much you're going to get out of this one, again, you can hop off. You don't have to stay on for this part of the presentation. Okay, so first thing I want to kind of talk about the portal here is to kind of just make sure everyone is very clear, because I know we throw out these terms around SA mobile, SA portal. So let me just give you a quick kind of understanding between the two. So SA mobile refers to that diagnostic application that runs on a smart device that is used by the technician in the field to document the active 4 assessment. So that is, and it's unique to the technician. So each technician has their own username and password, and they only see their jobs that they're working on, and they sync that to field diagnostics. So that there is that's what we refer to as SA mobile. A couple other things to make sure that everyone is clear on, because we run into this every once in a while. It is imperative that you teach your technicians to sync that regularly. So as you may or may not know, the technician collects that data. It's stored in the cache of the browser on that device. That is only on that device until such time that the technician goes in and uses the sync function and syncs that all the new data back up to field diagnostics. So and so if they're using a device with a cellular connection, they can sync pretty much any time. If they have a device with only a Wi-Fi connection, what I like to say is when they go for their 2 o'clock coffee at Starbucks, they can go ahead and sign into that free Wi-Fi and sync their last jobs. Because if something was to happen, if they didn't sync for a few days and they brick their phone, or they drop that tablet, or the system suddenly reboots on them, that data is gone, and it's gone forever. There's no way to get that back. So that is a word of caution, word of wise, and still beat it into the technician's head, sync, sync, sync. So, okay, so, and then the SA portal, this is actually the tool that the back office uses. And this is, it's really meant for the owner who has multiple technicians in the field, or the back office staff who's processing applications and making sure that jobs are ready to be processed. So back office staff should not be logging in as a technician and going in technician by technician into jobs. They really should be logging in under the SA portal. And the link to this portal is back on that dashboard. So under those links, you'll find a link to this so you don't have to remember that each time. So you would have a separate login for this based on your credentials. And when you log in, you're going to get to a list of all the jobs. But before we get to that, let me just give you, so the home button brings you back to the list of jobs that would come up on the screen at any point. And so it's always the way you can get back. If you ever get lost, you just hit home, you'll get back to the main screen. This just tells you who you're logged in as. And then you as a company, whoever the admin is, would see this company admin feature. You will not see program admin. Program admin is for the administrator of the program. But the company admin would show this screen. It would list off who the contractor, the main contact, and the contractor. And then these would be all the technicians that you would have that are in the program with an SA mobile account. So this you would just be able to see, and then you would be able to click on. So if I clicked on and I wanted to see the technician, I would find their information in here. I can edit some basic, like you as the company administrator can edit like the phone, the mobile, just the first and last name. You cannot change a username. You cannot. You can change an email, but you cannot change what programs they're connected to or so forth. And you cannot create only we can create accounts in the system. So it's very limited, but it at least allows you to see, what contractors or what technicians you have listed in the program and their role. And everyone is pretty much, a technician is pretty much a regular user. And then the office administrator would come across as a company administrator. So, okay. Now I'm going to go into the main list. I'm going to go. Okay, it does take a minute to pull up because if you have a lot in here, it has to parse all that information out. But basically, what it will return will be all the jobs that have been synced with field diagnostics. So any job that your technicians have synced will show up in the portal, and it's real time. So if they sync, 10 minutes, they synced 10 minutes ago, you're going to see that sync when you log in now into the portal. That's different than, not to be confused with the 24-hour, about the 24-hour time it takes from when you sync into SA Portal and when that becomes available in the Build It Green contractor dashboard. That does have an overnight process. So even though you sync, you will not see those jobs in the portal, and you will not be able to match them to an application until that nightly run happens, which is late at night, like 1 or 2 in the morning. So just be aware of that. But you would be able to see if a contractor went out in the morning and you wanted to see if they had completed that job. So the other important thing is the search field. Again, it works like the search field on the dashboard. You just type in any of the information that you want, any part of the customer's name, any part of their address, zip code. It will narrow it down as you type to get down to the individual or the handful that match that search criteria that you've typed in there. So again, that is probably one of the most useful features in here, is that search criteria. So in here, I've got, my list. You won't see company name because obviously you're all one company. You'll start by seeing the site, when the last visit was take place at that site. Do not worry about the status and don't freak out when you see all your jobs as incomplete, because this only changes to complete if your technician did everything in the SA mobile app. So they did all the pre, all the post, the refrigeration pre, the refrigeration post. So unless those are all done, that's always going to show incomplete. So don't panic to think that these aren't valid jobs. Before I go into the individual site, the other thing I want to just highlight, because I think this is a really great feature, and I don't know how often it's utilized. So these are reports that are generated that are excellent to use with customers to review the status of their system, so that you can talk about, here's where their system sits, and so when you talk about what you can do to bring it up to the ACA standard, you have a document that helps support that discussion. So there's two. There's an HTML version and there's a PDF version. The HTML version is great if you actually have your technicians with, let's say, a laptop or an iPad that is connected via the internet, because then you can display it right on screen. It's a nice online format. If you need to go back and you're going to print a report, put your invoice with it, if you want to send it with an invoice when you complete a job, it's a nice piece to give the customer. And I'll open this one up because I just want to give you a sense of how kind of professional this looks. And I kind of akin it to the when you take a car to the dealership for service. A lot of times they'll give you a report that breaks out like, okay, here's the depth of tread left in your tires. Here's how much percentage of brake lining you have left. Here's the when's your next tune-up for oil change. I mean, you know, they give you that kind of diagnostic printout, and that's what this is meant to do as well. So first of all, I'll highlight that right now it says Build It Green because I'm logged in under Build It Green, but in the system you have the ability as the company administrator to select your own company logo or type in your company name, and that's what would show. So if you were logged in and you're, you know, ABC HVAC, and you had your ABC logo, that is what would show up, so that when you print this off, the customer would see your logo on this report. And then it automatically puts in the customer name. It puts in your contractor information, so they have that up front. They know who to call. And then it has the information of like when the project was started, when it was completed, and then a summary of the results. And this basically goes through and highlights what was communicated to, or what the customer communicated to the technician when they did the homeowner interview, and then when the technician goes out and does the assessment on the unit, it will collect everything. Now, I didn't fill out or create this full assessment, so a lot of this is blank, but it would list all this information out, and then in here, it would list out the pre-test, and if there was a fail, it would list out what that failure was. And there's, as you may know in SA Mobile, the technician can type in the recommended repair. It will take that recommended repair and list it as the recommended solution for that fail. And then if you do the post-test afterwards, it would show a pass and would say, you know, repair as suggested, or if there was additional repairs, they can type in, you know, any additional work that they did to bring that up to ACA standard. And that holds true for all of these sections. You would see that same information, much like kind of down here in the refrigeration cycle, where you got the pre-test showing a fail. It came back with the automated response of ambient temperatures below the low limit of 55 degrees Fahrenheit, which to the customer doesn't mean much, but it allows you to explain to the customer why that failed and what the recommended correction would be. And if you had more than one unit, it would list the second unit as well. And then also give them their refrigeration cycle test on the unit, again, more for talking or for the technician's value than anything else. And then down below would be the appendix, which is basically kind of a list of all the answers collected. So you would have not only this, but you'd have all the unit answers collected, like how many trunk lines, how many, what was the insulation value, was it round duct, sheet metal, flexible conduit, you know, all the questions that you would have answered or the technician would have answered. And then finally, a static definitions page. to leave with the homeowner so they can kind of understand how their system works and what you guys, what the technician's talking about when they're saying that, oh, your evaporator coil is in bad shape, or your compressor, or your condenser. They can kind of point to it and use the graphic as a way to help educate the customer. And then finally, there's just kind of a tip sheet to leave for the customer on how to, now that they've taken their first steps in performance efficiency, what can they do to keep it up? And it's a nice little sales piece as well to help say, yes, regular checkups. That's why a service agreement's important. Change your filter regularly. That's why a service agreement's important. And then use that programmable thermostat. So, and then these set points are recommended by PG&E. So it doesn't mean that they're required. They're just the recommendations from PG&E. So I just wanted to show that because I think it's a tool that is overlooked sometimes, but I think it has a lot of value in promoting the program. And then especially for those contractors that participate in both programs, both the AC Quality Care and the Home Upgrade. AC Quality Care has a great segue. So if you go out and do your ACA assessment and really find that this system is deficient, that you've got some serious issues with this HVAC system, or the duct work is so leaky, I mean, you'd have to replace the whole thing. It gives a great opportunity to get that report, go through it, and say, you know what, you may want to consider that instead of trying to fix this system, maybe we want to move you and look at a home upgrade project, and we can replace that and maybe even do a couple other items that will get you a larger rebate and improve the comfort of your home and the energy efficiency. So it also provides, I think, a great segue to help if you have an opportunity to move a customer to a to the home upgrade side as well. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to dive into will be back to the site list. If I wanted to see the information on this customer without going through the report, so back office, I can click on the customer's name, and I'm going to get I'm going to get basically kind of the customer address information, their phone number, and then I'm going to get the kind of inspection results. So I will have my homeowner interview that I can go in and look at. The other thing to notice is that's where you'll find your technician. So if you want to find out what technician did a particular job, you're not going to find it at the customer level, and that's for a very good reason. And that is, you may have one technician go out and do the assessment, and then you may have another technician that goes out to do the refrigerant or do a post-inspection if you if you do corrections. So it has to be done really at the inspection level. So you'll see the technician's name when you go into the individual inspections. So that's the homeowner interview, and then you have your units. And again, we talked about if you had more than one unit, you'll list those units in the system. So we'll go unit 1, and again, I didn't go through do a whole assessment, so a lot of these are blank. But if the technician had collected all this data, which they should be collecting through SA Mobile, this would show complete, and it would have all the information in here that can be that you'll be able to see, or you'll be able to see what they're missing as well. And then over here, this is where you have your individual inspections for your different sections of the ACA 4. If there was data in here, these would be like blue links, and you'd be able to open them up and, again, view each of the reports or what was provided by the technician in each of those sections and what technician submitted that inspection into SA Mobile. And the only thing is it's a view only at the inspection level. You cannot edit the information. Now, that's to keep data integrity and to ensure that data is not being changed or manipulated after the fact. So it's really only the technician that can edit or change that information. So if you see something incorrect, you have to go back to the technician and have them go in and make that correction to the findings. and that holds true with the refrigeration testing as well. You will see all the values and what they're getting. You'll see who the technician that performed it, but you will not see you'll not be able to edit any of that information in the system for data integrity-wise. So really what the portal allows you to do is in the back office, you can check and find out now what technicians are doing what jobs. If that site has been complete, you could even, for example, you could go in, I guess, and start fill in some basic information on a site. So technician goes out, you could, in essence, tell the technician, look, just put in the name of the customer and the unit information. We'll fill in the address at the back end, because you would be able to edit this information here. Let me just refresh something here. Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is where the edit. I have to apologize. For some reason, my screen is acting up here. I'm cutting off some of this stuff. But if I go back, you see there's an edit feature over here. And there's usually an edit for this section as well. It's kind of hidden, I believe. But in here, you can go ahead, and this is the one area where you can make changes to the information. So if the technician, forgot to put in the SEER, you could go and add that in by calling him up. But again, you cannot edit any of the actual inspection data. That part is fixed and can only be changed by the technician themselves. Okay, so that is the SA portal. I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions. So again, if you have any questions, please raise your hand. Be happy to answer those. And again, this link is available through the dashboard, the contractor dashboard. If you're unable to log in, please do contact our office either by email or by phone, and we can help you get on to the SA portal tool. And if there's anything in particular that you have questions after this call, again, feel free to reach out. We're happy to walk through that with you, answer any of those questions, and help you really utilize this tool and get the benefit that this tool offers. Okay? Well, good. Then if that is, unless there doesn't seem to be any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and thank everyone for joining. I hope you found this informational and informative. And if there's nothing else, then I'm going to wish everyone a happy rest of the day, and we'll be signing off. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good afternoon.